Hi, Evolve and Ascend. Happy Sunday. Happy day. I'm trying to get this phone situation figured out. Hopefully it stays in place. I'm on no battery, so I have to leave it on the charger. How's everybody doing? Hope you've had a good weekend. Currently waiting for my friend Giya Venus Adams to join the live stream because we are going to do a chat dueling oracle card deal. Pull some cards for you, get some insight. There she is. All right, 1 second. Hi. Hey.
I was having a Corey Hart moment earlier. I was like, oh, and I forgot for some reason. I was like, oh, I don't need to do any eye makeup and then I was like, wait, this is going to be a video. So I was like, let me just.
Well, you look gorgeous.
Improvise. Thank you.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Happy first day of Sagittarius season.
Oh, thank God. Scorpio, I'm an Aries, so I'm spicy to begin with, but Scorpio and I just don't get along. We're just not friends.
Yeah. I always say that Scorpio is like the fieriest water sign. Like,
yeah.
There's so many Scorpios in my life.
What sign are you?
Well, technically, okay, well, because I'm starting to explore alternate zodiac systems. So in the, I guess, I don't know what the regular one is, but the tropical, is it tropical?
I think it's tropical, yeah.
Yeah. I'm technically a Capricorn there.
Yeah.
But in Vedic astrology and all that, technically I'm a Sagittarius. So either way.
Cool. I love Sagittarius.
Me too.
Adventurous, fun, sweet, good peeps.
For sure.
So, I mean, I'm so excited about this. I feel like what you had positioned or propositioned for us to do is like kind of like our dueling oracle card thing. But I'd love to introduce Evolve and Ascend to you and to your work because you're so special and just such a diamond. And I think this is just awesome to be able to like highlight what you do and talk a little more about who you are. So before we get into that, want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Yeah. So hi everyone. My name is Giya Venus. Native South American, New Yorker, and then Tennessee by way of New York. I am a magical unicorn lady, Miss Honey, if you know me very well. But if we have to use a traditional word, I'm a shaman. And I don't say specialize, but I focus a lot on inner child work and inner child healing, reconnecting, helping people reconnect with their essence, their vital child, godlike essence, and living their best lives like that.
Amazing. And you also specialize in doing Akashic Records readings as well, right?
Yeah. So all of that through Akashic Records readings, which is my favorite to date. So that's one of my favorite ways to do that.
Amazing. So we actually, for everybody tuning in, Giya and I met because she had purchased my Amenti Oracle deck, and it was just immediately like, oh, hi, here you are. Here's my friend. Connect. But Amenti, which is the deck I'll be pulling from tonight, this is based loosely off of the Emerald Tablets and the Halls of Amenti, which are kind of like our celestial Akashic records, if you will, too. So lots of synchronicity and resonance.
For sure, yes.
Do you know which deck you're going to use tonight?
Yeah, so I'm going to use it's not an Oracle deck, because for some reason I was like flying around the house and all my Oracle decks were like hiding from me. And so the first deck that I saw that I was like, oh, this works, is the Star Child Akashic.
Oh, amazing. Actually, we interviewed Rebecca Campbell for Evolve and Ascend at one point. So,
What?
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So anybody tuning in, the deck that Guy is going to be using is by Rebecca Campbell. If you Google Rebecca Campbell Evolve and Ascend, you can see one of the article interviews we've done with her. And also to learn more about Gaia's work, I featured Gaia on my podcast, Radio Amenti, one of my favorite episodes. So I'll put links, all that stuff too. So sweet. Do you want to? I'm gonna have to. This is driving me crazy because I have my phone on my charger and it's not sitting properly. So there, cool. Hopefully, I get battery lasts. Do we want to pull cards first? Just like do like a collective reading, and then maybe see who's on and pull some cards for people tuning in. What kind of vibe are you feeling?
Oh, those both sound really good. I don't know. We can do the collective
Cool.
thing. Yeah, I like that.
How many cards do you want to pull?
Three's a good number. I like three.
I like that too. Perfect.
Do you shuffle your deck like you work the tables at Vegas? That's how I shuffle because
I
that's
just
how I like to
like that. I
shuffle.
was like, I'm unprofessional. I've been doing it since I'm 8, and I do it like a little kid. Like,
Yeah, so I do it like, oh, and then like the whatever. I only learned that because the last half of high school, senior year, we were done with courses in like February, March,
yeah,
and so like our teachers let us have study hall for the rest of the year, and we played card games for 4 months.
amazing. I'm so not ambidextrous, and I have no coordination. So if I tried to do that, it would be like 42 card pickup.
Oh my.
All right. Do you want to read yours first, and then I'll read mine?
Okay. Also, I really like the book for this one, but I don't know where I hid it again. I hid it for myself. Alrighty. So the first card that I pulled was Transformation Reverse, which I don't know how everyone else reads reversals, but I just read it as like this is something super important.
Yeah.
So I feel like this card of transformation is actually perfect for Sagittarius season because we're talking about how Sagittariuses are so adventurous. My sister's a Sagittarius and she's always traveling, like always having these amazing experiences. And I asked her once, I was like, why? Like, why do you travel so much? Like, why are you always leaving the house? And she's like, because the world is so amazing to experience and getting out there and experiencing it is my favorite thing about it. And so this card really makes me think about that conversation we had and this idea that, oh, we are really here to have an experience. And the transformation occurs when we take the time to like allow ourselves to have an experience rather than just get stuck in the oh, I have to do this right now and I have to do this way and this is the only way you can do it or these are the only ways you can do this thing. And it's like, have fun with it. Like, we're here and this is like the biggest game of Survivor, but the trick to it is that you have fun and that's how you
Definitely.
that's how you win the game. The cheat codes.
Definitely. You got to keep laughing through it because if you don't laugh, you're going to cry. And it's,
Yeah. I spent so many years of my life like doing things and outwardly I'm like, yeah, this is fun. But in my head, I'm like screaming.
Yeah.
And that's just not, I did not have a good time. Now it's like I'm laughing inside and outside.
Perfect.
That's it. Yes.
So should I read my card or you want to do your 3?
No, wait. Let's like trade off.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so the first one I got is I listen to opposing opinions. So I think kind of piggybacking off of what you said, this is a really good card, especially for the shift to Sagittarius season, because for me personally, Scorpio season is really challenging. It was challenging, but energy started moving, and now we're shifting into like the opposing opinion, right? So Scorpios is like really intense sign, very like sexual, very intense, very like got the stinger out. Sagittarius is more like, let's pull back the arrow and see how far we can go. But look at both, right? Listen to the opposition that happens within it. I think this year, especially, we've been dealing with a lot of contrasting opinion and confusion and contrast, you know. A lot has happened in 2020, but when we listen, if you like rearrange the letters, it turns into silent. In that space of listening to the silence, there's something to be learned. So I think that that's something really special, and then through it you can transform and enjoy the journey through.
Yeah. That was my fortune cookie yesterday.
Oh my God. Yeah, what did it say? It was a really good one.
I can't even remember. I didn't keep it because I was like, it's so good. I'm not going to keep. But it was something about taking the time to listen to others
Yeah.
and finding a lesson in there, or something along. That's like a loose translation.
Mm.
But that is so true. It's like with the idea of, like you were saying, Scorpio is like the stinger's out. Like the stinger never goes away. Like it's always present and ready to strike. But with Sagittarius, it's like you have to pull the arrow back, and there's a breath before you move.
Mm.
It's kind of like this period of like a pause. And I talked about, it's funny too, because I also synchronicities, talked about that in one of my episodes that I did on my podcast about soul retrieval and the importance of intention, and intention being this 3-step process, or creating an intention is this 3-step process of saying, okay, like this is what I want. I'm going to aim my energy in that direction, and then I'm going to pause and let it go. Like there's this beautiful thing that happens when we just say, all right, go. And then go with it.
Totally. And then the aim, that's the thing. Like I like that you said it, like Scorpio's like ready to sting, it's very
Yeah.
like impulsive, at least in my experience with it. It's just like, you did this, I'm going to sting you. But like to pull back, let go.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. I already saw my next card, and it's just like the theme of this whole reading. I'm so glad we did this.
Me too. I love you. This is so good.
I love you. So this one is justice. Again, this one's reversed too. So extra attention. Like we were literally just talking about. And this idea of justice, and I struggled for a long time with what does it mean for things to be just, like fair. And I feel like a lot of the time, especially when we think about others' opinions and how other people feel about things, especially when they think very differently from us. And then we've also got this idea of like, okay, we just need to have the experience. There's also this element of like wanting to be like, that's not fair. It's not fair that, that these people are doing this, and that's like destroying the world. Like, sure, that's actually, sometimes destructive things are very like unpleasant. And there's this principle of like, we've got these scales, these like balancing acts that we have to do with things like this, because it's like we also have to live with with people who don't agree with us, and sometimes we literally have to live with them. Other times we just have to live with them. Like I live in the middle of the Bible Belt, a very small town, so it's like I feel like I'm always doing this balancing act, but it's more than just trying to like cancel out, because I don't think we're trying to cancel out. When we want things to be fair, we want it to be so that people can do what needs to get done without hurting other people.
Sorry.
And I feel like this card is really telling us.
That's
And
so
it's got
perfect.
that like, yeah, and it's got that element of aim too, like the arrow with the sword. It's like, where am I going to drop this? Like, how am I going to respond? And how am I going to behave or react? Or am I going to wait before I react? Things like that.
Yeah. It's perfect because with what you're saying with my card is I am kind.
I love that.
So when you think about like transformation and change and the serpent shedding its skin, it's still the serpent, it's just transformed. And the power of fire, fire can create, fire can destroy. When you think about justice, to will what is just, we don't, like you said, we don't want to cancel anybody in the process, because then the same cycle perpetuates. If we're inflamed about the condition of the world, the only way things will change is through compassion and kindness, not by perpetuating the same systems of anger, violence, oppression. You know, it's just like the pendulum swinging to another side, because then it's inevitably going to go back. You have to find that feather heart balance and to remember kindness. Sarah Silverman actually posted this video that was really good. I don't know if you saw it, but she was talking about a friend of hers who used to be in like the KKK. He was like super anti-Semitic, and it was his story about how literally he was just like a really lost kid, had no acceptance, no family, nowhere to go, and these were the only people that gave him love. He didn't know any better. And coming out of that on the other side, realizing like, wow, this is fucked up. I'm getting out of here. It was through compassion. It was through, this is a lost person. And like, you know, I talked about this recently, so the whole talk of like Nexium and these shows that came out, like Seduced and The Vow. Cult dynamics are cult dynamics, and they prey upon weak people. And people are inherently damaged and flawed and traumatized. But if we can offer those that have opposing opinions compassion and kindness, then real change can take place. Right?
Like, there's nothing to add there. Like, absolutely. And, you know, the easy part is talking about it.
Yeah.
because I know myself, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a human being. And so sometimes it's like, I think, what was it? The other day we were at the grocery store, and the lady next to us was like talking about turkeys, and she's like, "Oh, turkeys are blah blah blah, and I got mine for $4." And I was like, "Okay." Just unprompted interaction. And I was like, "Wait, just chill out." Like, I
Yeah.
don't have to get offended by this lady asking me about turkey, because that triggers me to be like, "Why is she?" And but it really, again, like with the Sagittarius things, like the pause and then the aim, and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna choose
Yeah.
to meet the person where they are with compassion. Like, no, I'm not really a fan of turkey, and that's all I
Yeah.
have to say. Like, you don't have to engage people when they're not, you know.
Totally. Boundaries, not walls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that kind of comes with being kind. Like, being kind doesn't mean letting people just say whatever they want to say to you
No.
and do whatever they want to do to you. Like, that's not what that's about
No, it's
either.
the do no harm, take no shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Okay. So let's see, what's my last card? My last card is the Ace of Cups. Again, all three of these were reversed. Like, it's like,
Interesting.
hey, pay attention. Yeah. So the Ace of Cups, I love this card because, well, this specific card, because it's got these crystals in here.
Mm.
And crystals is another suit in this deck, and they stand in for pentacles and represent the element of earth. So it's so, I think it's interesting when it's reversed like this, because then it's also, like we were saying, like, or like I was just saying, there's this sort of grounding that we need to do in our emotions to be able to meet people with kindness and advocate for justice in this way in order to enjoy our human experience. Like, there's a whole sentence five cards. Like, seriously though, because when you think about it, so often, and like you said, this cult kind of dynamic where people are like, oh, this person is super reactionary, super emotional. We're gonna have the camera on, like all eyes on them. We're gonna focus on them. Everybody's gonna see this, and this is gonna be our standard now. So everybody can be reactionary. That way, nobody has to take responsibility for anything, because then they can just blame it on their feelings. Like, I feel
Completely.
like this, so I'm just going to, wild out, as we as they say, as we used to say in Brooklyn when I was a kid. Like, why are you wilding? Like, just calm down.
Yeah.
Just take a moment, right? Understand that we're having an experience, Like, this is a game. How are you going to play this? Like,
Yes,
are you going to let people just be like, oh, wow, this person, she's a wild cannon. I'm just going to mess with her just to get a rise. And now you're spending all of your energy, like, being a loose cannon.
completely. Instead of just taking that step back,
Yeah.
breathing,
Yeah.
not reacting.
Cos- a cosmic pause.
I like that. The cosmic pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I got, I offer words of good intent. So I feel like all of our cards like have really played off of each other to tell a greater story. And if you
Of
think
course.
the etymology of intention means to heal a wound. So if words are magic. We cast spells with our words. If we use our words with good intent, we can use our words to heal wounds. And also, again, still create boundaries, but you can do it in a gentle way. You know, like the woman with the turkey, like, okay, thanks. I went for a walk with my aunt last week, and I was trying to explain to her about how insane QAnon is. And I was just telling her it's nuts and this is what it is. And I said, I'm like, well, this is a thing where they think Trump is the savior. And some guy got in my face and was like, he is the savior. You wait and see, the plan is going to unfold. And I'm like, have a nice day. I wasn't speaking to you, okay? You know, and instead of getting triggered, it's like, namaste to you, friend.
Oh. Yeah, it's like the moments like those call for like emergency bottles of like Florida water just for like, here, let me just sprinkle you a little bit, like, or as like aromatherapy, let me just huff this
Yeah,
and
like,
clear
hold on.
myself.
Does this smell like chloroform? Just kidding.
Yeah. What?
Just kidding. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think the overall theme with our reading and like for the collective too is like things are changing, things are transitioning. It's good to be going to a space from reactionary to contemplative, and kindness and compassionate words are really great tools to help you through your journey, the game of life, right?
Yeah, they are. They are. I was obsessed with that board game when I was a kid. And like I didn't understand why until you just mentioned like until you just said that cuz yeah, duh, like the best part about this is that we can like laugh at the absurd things. We can be like this is ridiculous
Yeah,
and I'm going to start laughing because again, I'm going to scream if I don't laugh and I prefer laughing instead to
definitely.
screaming.
I think honestly, if one thing this year has taught us with all of the tragedy and awful things that have happened, not making light of any of the awful atrocities we've experienced in this year, but it's so easy to get consumed in that sadness. So you have to remember, like, it is a game. Let me find moments of levity to get me through this, or else it's just crippling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's so important I think to have that perspective. And again, like back with the transformation and the justice card, it's like where where am I going to like draw the line in the sand for myself? Like where am I going to say this is what's happening and this is how it's going to happen for me. Like I'm not getting swept up in the tide of it all. And I started doing this like Bhagavad Gita study group with my yoga teacher.
Amazing.
And yeah, and we just finished talking about the second half of the second chapter and it's like this understanding of you you have your thing that you came here to do. Whatever that is. Like whoever you came here to be, you've got that person and you've got to do that. You don't have a choice in you have to be this person at some point. But what you do have a choice in is how am I going to get there? Like how am I going to be in this experience? Like am I going to fight it the entire way until I don't have a choice and I'm literally like destitute on the side of the road? Like are you going to be like Arjuna and be like I'm just gonna not do anything. I'm gonna sit here in the middle and cry about it, or I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna run off to the woods and never look at people again. And it's like, but you're doing yourself a disservice. We have to kind of remember how. And I love the word remember as opposed to the word learn. You have to remember how to be here and be this cosmic divine unicorn, being, but also be like, this is my skin. These are my hands. And I didn't put on any eyeshadow, but you know what? It doesn't matter.
Completely.
That's a
We live in a participatory universe, right? And as we show up for things, they show up with us. Um, and I love the Bhagavad Gita as like a total metaphor for life. If for those who've never heard of it before, would you mind kind of explaining the story and your own experience of it so far?
yeah. So the the way that I am receiving it is it's like these are the different ways because it also goes into the different yogas and we haven't gone into those yet, but we briefly started talking about karma yoga and it's like these are the ways that you're going to live in this world or honor yourself in this incarnation, whatever you came here as, whatever you came here to do. It's not going to be sunshine and roses because maybe you were not put here to do that, but understanding like these are the things that you need in order to live here and participate, like you said. And and from like a more philosophical, because I love reading and books in general, but it's like this is the second time I'm encountering it. The first time I was like, no way, because I was recently out of Christianity. So I was like, I'm not reading any books that talk about Lord this and this person that. And so, but now it's more like connecting with and in the context of like what I do with the Akashic records, it's kind of like this beautiful moment between the divinity and the humanness within us that kind of have to reconcile. Like the human element is like, I'm going to fight this because that hurts and I'd rather not kill my uncles and all of that. And it's like, but are those really your uncles? Like, because when you do that, whenever you do what it is you're supposed to do, kill them, whatever it is you have to do, you're releasing them to become something else, or the energy of that, not literally killing people, but like releasing the energy and the attachments to those things will help you have this understanding of life. It's like the I don't even know where this short story comes from, but it's like the story of the village washing man who found enlightenment, and he was like, I've become enlightened, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, show me. So he like stands up tall and he starts like glowing, and then it's like, okay, now what else? And he's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna pick up my laundry again and keep doing that, the thing that I'm here to do. That's how I feel. That's like the long version of
Ugh.
the long blurb at the back underneath the traditional blurb of the Bhagavad Gita.
And, no, you put it so well though, because I mean it is. It's like the discourse between like Arjuna and God, right? Like,
Yeah,
is this am I doing the right thing? This is hard, but it's like you have to follow this path, and it's this ongoing conversation. I mean, God can be such a triggering word for me too.
yeah,
I didn't grow up Christian. I grew up with like no religion and a cultist grandma, but she hated the Catholic Church, so she'd be like, "They're all pedophiles. They're all just trying to clear money." So for me, it was always like triggering and inflaming because I just was like, God, everything's corrupt. But if you look at it as like the fundamental source that we emerge from and return to, and
yeah.
simplify something so complex within language. And if you look at the metaphors within the stories, it really helps us connect deeper to our divinity and our humanity, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Somebody actually commented and said, I'm going through this intense change right now relating to all of this. What are your thoughts on this change making you physically sick from doing energy work on yourself? Gaia, do you want to take that one?
Sure, yeah. So first of all, congratulations. I have a really interesting metaphor for this. It's okay, so I was born in January, and energetically, I feel like January is the time of the dark night of the soul because it's cold, things seem very bleak, and you're like in the middle of winter. And I think that physical illness is just another manifestation because anything that has manifested in this physical plane, whether it's from like a toothache to like, the creation of the atomic bomb all had an origin in some kind of energetic place. So if you think about, and here's my metaphor, if you think about a kitchen, right, that's just filthy, their dishes piled up, like there's stuff all over the floor, like it smells. Underneath that is the kitchen, but you have to kind of sweat to get to it. It arrived at that place, however it arrived there, but you have this beautiful opportunity now to go with that. So instead of thinking about this change is making me sick, maybe change your wording a little bit. Because, I mean, that's not to say it doesn't hurt or it's not painful or uncomfortable or things are happening that are making you feel like you're going crazy, because that's literally what happens sometimes. You're like, I'm losing my mind. Nobody else sees this. Y'all don't see this over here happening to me. But you have this beautiful opportunity to say, what is this showing me? Like, what is this physical thing that's happening? Like, what am I clearing? And having awareness of this thing that's now being cleared from you is amazing, because some people are extremely numb. Like people are like, oh, I've got a cough, I'm gonna go take, I don't even know if Robitussin is a thing anymore, but like, I'm gonna go take some Robitussin. You need like an ID to buy that, but I'm gonna take some NyQuil, whatever. I have a fever, I'm going to, aspirin. It was like thinking, what am I clearing when I have these symptoms? Like, what is my fever burning away? Like, what is that reducing to ashes on the spiritual plane
I love that.
or the energy plane?
That's such a potent metaphor, and especially since you are a shaman, you do shamanic work. Sorry, my dog is driving me nuts.
Okay.
I'm gonna tend to that. But in ayahuasca ceremonies, right, when you purge, they don't call it getting sick, it's called getting well. So, and piggybacking off of what you said, like looking at that as like it's a clearing, it's a process, it's a cleansing. You're not getting sick, you're getting well. You're purging that which no longer is a part of your path. And it's uncomfortable. Ayahuasca, Misha, I'm going to tend to that in a second. In ayahuasca, you puke, you shit, like you are just like, wow, like getting rid of all that stuff. And it's so uncomfortable. But on the other side of the bitterness, there's sweetness. So
Yeah.
what you said and that. Give me 1 second to tend to the dog. So I don't know if you can see the comments too, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can. Let me see what
Anyone you want to pick up a lead on, just give me 1 second.
journey transitioning beliefs. Yeah, like we are in an absolute stage of transition. Like everything is shifting, and the funny thing is that nothing, like everything is always shifting. There's just this point in time where we become more aware of things like shifting. Because I mean, the universe is always moving. The multiverse, this dimension is always moving. Nothing is ever like still. Even these feathers on this tapestry thing behind me, like they're not still. And I was sitting outside, of course. I was sitting outside in my yard, having breakfast or brunch today, and I was looking at the trees, and I stood there or sat there, and I was staring at them, and I held my breath, and I was like, I'm gonna catch these trees moving because they move. I know that they move because I've experienced them moving with medicine. So I know that they're moving and I can see them. And so I sat there and I saw the wind. The wind was moving the trees, but at one point the wind was still, but the trees were still moving. They were still shifting. And I was like, they're alive. Like everything is alive right now. And I am tuning into that like life stream.
I love that. Yeah, even when it's still moving. One of the
Yeah.
principles is the principle of vibration. You say like everything is, and it's just our field of awareness. We say that we only use X amount of percent of our brain. Like when we're tapping into ineffable realms or tuning into plant kingdoms, everything expands more. And it's just remembering that when we're like not in that space, so like, wow, everything is alive, everything has movement, everything is motion. Even when we're still moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I really do. It's just so special. And I feel like when people first come into this state of like awakening or whatever people call it, right? they get kind of fixated on the, oh my God, did you know that these things are real? And it's like, yeah. You think that's real? Like, guess what? Guess what else is real? Like, but at some point, I feel like it's so special when you get to watch someone else come into that, when you get to sit for someone else when they go through their own purging. Like, it's so magical, and that in and of itself is like a high on its own. Like, I mean, not outwardly, because you're like, oh, this looks literally, sometimes this looks really shitty, but I'm so excited for you. One of my really good friends, he's a medicine man and fantastic person. And at the end of the ceremony, he always, and I know this is a thing that other people do too, but he always like holds my hand and he looks me in the eye. I've got like snot on my face or whatever. And he's like, welcome home. And it's like, yes, this is it. And then we laugh. Then we laugh for like 45 minutes.
That's so good. They also will say happy birthday, which I love.
Oh.
Happy birthday.
Oh yeah. I was like, is it somebody's birthday? No, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday. Like, welcome to this new year. New year, new you. Like,
Exactly. So Min Rose said, I had an argument with my mother. How do I get her to see my pain in perspective? Well,
do you want to do you want
yeah, I'll start, and if you want to add too. Um, One of the greatest pieces of advice I've ever been given, which is so hard to sit with, but also is really valuable, is that the fastest way to win an argument is to see how you're wrong. And that's really hard, especially I have a mother that's a challenging personality. And every time we get into an argument, I'm like, I can't do it. But once I step back and go, wow, compassionate communication. And this is where, like, the next point I'll make, I can't wait to hear how you spin it too, Gaia, because during an ayahuasca ceremony, the first time I did medicine, one of the big revelations I had was just about how the way that we treat ourselves, the way that we speak to ourselves, the way that we view ourselves, it's like, would we do those things to a child? Would we do those things to a baby? When you say, oh, I'm stupid, or oh, I'm this, or oh, I'm that, or oh, I'm making this choice, would you do that to your baby? So if you recontextualize it and zoom out or zoom in and see your parent as like a little baby, how can you talk to this little baby with compassion and just say, like, okay, it's not about me right now. I'm going to try and reason with the baby. And so babies, like toddlers, are like little drunk people. So like there's not really like a lot of like reasoning that can be happened in a way unless it's like very soft, very kind, very just like, I'm going to take the high road. So
Yeah. Yeah. My suggestion for that is to don't try to get her to see your way, because you're coming from a unique perspective at a unique place in life, in time. So like I always tell people, I'm like, don't argue. Look at your mom and try to imagine what she's gonna look like 3,000 years from now. Like, what is she gonna look like? Are you even gonna know her? Like, are you gonna pass her on the street? And how many times have you switched places? Like, how many times has that role been reversed? And then say, this is not even, I'm not even gonna do that. And if all else fails, be like, I love you. And then walk away. I used to tell, because I worked with teenagers, and they were like, how do I, like, if I go to someone's house to hang out with them and they're, they want to get like all sexy and I don't want to do that, then what do I do if I'm scared to say no? I'm like, ask them where their bathroom is and then go out the front door. Like, it's just like, you don't have to, again, you don't have to engage. You don't have to engage people who you're like, if you think that I can't understand this person, I can't reach this person, then you need to stop.
yeah.
You need to say, how am I judging this situation? That's not to say that you won't judge the situation, because again, like, I'm a human being. I'll be like, you're wrong. Like, you're ridiculous right now. And I don't like you. But then you take a moment, again, there's this pause that happens, and you're like, is this even worth the argument? It's like, no, no, it's not. Like, will I ever get them to see this way in an alternate like dimension, right? Or a parallel universe? Like, what else is this argument about?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody said sometimes you just need to run. Yeah, just leave. Like, but all else fails, just like put on your backpack and be like, all right, well, I gotta go.
How about we pull a card for Monroe's? You had to ask your mom about my father's inheritance because I want to move out and I feel the family had been sabotaging me.
I know what I do.
I did run off 3 times. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I have mine. Do you want to do yours first?
Okay, I'll do mine first. And I think this is a beautiful card. It's the Knight of Cups.
Mm.
And the interesting thing that I find in my relationship with this specific type of card, the Knight card in any tarot deck, is what the Knight means. The Knight is somebody who's like extremely loyal, like I will die for you, my whomever. And it's like whether or not you're wrong, I'm gonna do it. And so here with the Eight of Cups, I feel like there's this sense of, sorry, the Knight of Cups. I said eight. I don't know why I said eight. The Knight of Cups, there's this idea of I feel like I'm going to be a bad person on some level, because there's also this symbolism of like walking away, like you said, you ran away 3 times, leaving, but leaving something behind. Like what kind of like honor or duty do you feel you have to fulfill that keeps bringing you back? Like what is it that you emotionally invest in that keeps you in that house, in that place, without like even if you physically leave, you're still leaving some part of yourself behind. Like what is there? What are you leaving behind?
Yeah. It's interesting too. So like the card that I got was I invoke laughter. So how I would translate that with your card as kind of the pebble in the pond is to Marie Kondo the situation. You know, does this spark joy? What is it that sparks joy? Hold on to that, let go of what does not. And in the letting go, you're creating space for something new. It's very hard when you have all these attachments, like the fact that Guy was talking about the Bhagavad Gita. Monroe's, if you're going through something like this, I would recommend getting a copy of that book, especially, you know, going through death, going through transition, attachment, holding on to things. If you move out and you don't have anything left, that is a limiting statement because you do. There's always something. There's always something. There's something left behind, yes, but there's also like joy on the other side of it too. That's how I would say like unvoke laughter. And, you know, and it's interesting because she's dancing through contrast, you know,
Yeah.
dancing through like, you know, like vultures, death, darkness. It's like you have to just maintain levity through anything left to hold me back. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's an initiation. You're creating
Yeah.
space. You're not losing anything.
And it's like you're creating space, and what do you need to fill it with? Fill it with laughter.
Yeah.
Just when it seems like your dad was somebody who you cared a lot about. And so you replace the crying with laughter. Every time you think about him, laugh about something that happened with him that makes you laugh? Yeah, we did start with laughter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's medicine. It really is. Honestly, Monrose, and I can attest to this too. This summer was really hard for me, and I went through a lot of family stuff, like really traumatic. But again, we're thinking about the arrow. The further you pull back and adjust your aim and pause and breathe, the further you can launch forward. And sometimes those moments that pull us back are what's actually the catapult forward. So looking at it again, it's creating space for new heights, new awareness, new aim. You're going to be good. You got this. Transition.
Yeah.
Laughter and dancing. Um, Mohan had asked if he could ask a question too. Mohan, are you still there? New focus, new willpower. Yes. Dancing. I haven't danced in a really long time. I feel like that's such a good like movement to get
Yeah.
things flowing.
I feel like dancing, especially like with all the hip stuff, is a great way to like clear out your sacral chakra so that you can live your truth and create your purpose.
Definitely. Yes, Mohan, if you have a question, would you like to ask us something? Or we can pull a card. Krishna consciousness. We're talking about the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, isn't that synchronistic? Delicious.
Synchronicity. Okay. We'll start shuffling while he's thinking of what his question is. Next time I do this, I have to make sure my phone is fully charged because this has been frustrating. Okay. What is the world of illusion? All right, navigating the world of illusion. So to pull a card about what is Maya, let's see what. That's a big question.
I know, like, why not?
Let's see. We love you. Thank you, Dragon. And hey, Witchy AF. Okay, what is Maya? That's interesting.
Like, I love this deck. Like, I love it.
What did you get for Maya?
Okay. I pulled the Four of Cups,
Mm-hmm.
reverse. And for me, this card, again, there's like, there's this sense of this lady, she's like, I'm really feeling this. She's like, this experience is amazing. She's looking in the direction of the one fallen cup, like, oh, my world is falling apart. I'm gonna just go to pieces. Like, these cups are not in perfect balance. My cat hasn't knocked it over. I knocked it over. And now I'm gonna like be a baby about it. I'm gonna pout. Like, I mean, that's not what she's doing with her face, but that's what energetically is going on in this card. It's like we have the opportunity, and then too, there's like the moon in the background, so that's another element of like shadow and hidden things. It's like for me, and in this card, the understanding of the Maya, like you said, the world of illusion. It's like we're here, and like I was saying before, we have the opportunity to have an experience, but as we're having that experience, we create these attachments to things, to events, to outcomes. And it's like, oh, I knocked over a cup, the world is ending. And it's like, no, because is the cup even there? Like in the Matrix, it's like, there is no spoon. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, what? There's no spoon? What do you mean? But that looks like a spoon. And it's like, no, there's no spoon. There's no cup. Like, this situation that you think is like absolutely tragic is actually not. But if you want us to like play a violin and bake you a cake for it, like, just say you want somebody to play you the violin and bake a cake. Like, don't create a situation where now you're like sad about it. Like, let's keep it in context.
I love that. It's so true. It's so funny. So I spread joy. So, Maya, look at this. We're navigating through time and space,
Yes.
vessels of human experience. Spread joy. Yeah, like it is this world of illusion. Everything is and isn't all at once. You think that the table in front of you is solid, but really it's just a bunch of vibrating particles. You think there's a spoon, there is no spoon. The cup spilled over, there is no cup. Glass half empty, half full. It all shifts with your perception. So, in this world of illusion, this game that we're in, they always say like love is like, I watched Interstellar last night. I fell asleep to it, and they talk about like love bends fabrics, time, space. But, joy is a source of love. So, I mean, the more you feed your life joy and laughter, I mean, I feel like here's our common theme is
Yeah.
laughter through the matrix. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
Maya, laughter through the matrix.
Mm, I love it. I do love that.
Should we pull one more card for someone and then pop off?
Yeah, we can do
This
that.
hour went by really fast.
An hour? It's been an hour already?
52 minutes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, time just does not exist whenever we're like in sharing the same space at the same time.
We should do this more often too. So anytime.
We should.
Yeah. Nat Morales, can you let us know what your name is? I always like knowing the name of who we're pulling for. And then Rare Treat says, I've been in a creative block for a while. I burnt out last year. I've been healing, but I struggle with consistency and I love trying new things. How do I move forward? Keep trying new things. And
Yeah.
honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. Being a creative, this is something that I actually was talking about recently. Being a creative person, it's like always being itchy.
Yeah.
Scratch the itch.
I love that.
Because
Oh my God.
no matter what you do, and creativity is a fickle thing. It could come through in your writing, it could come through in your art, it could come through however. Play and experiment and don't get so attached to trying to control it because creativity is an uncontrollable force. It's a force you can guide, but you can't control it.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have the card for our card?
Yeah. Yeah. I pulled the card that says, I'm trying to see what all the symbols on this are because I can't tell. It is oppression. It was reversed. But yeah, so it's this idea of oppression. Oh wait, it was reversed. Every card that I pulled today was reversed. Like these are all important. So this card was reversed. And the interesting thing with oppression, and specifically this card, is it reminds me a lot of like the traditional justice card, because it's like on one hand this figure, and you can't tell if this figure is male or female. It's like very androgynous, which I feel is indicative or representative of this like etheric consciousness, the spirit world, if you must. And on one side, it looks like a coin, and I can't tell what it is, but there's a little yellow thingy. And then there's a crystal on top of that on one side, and then on the other side there's a feather and the planet and the moon in the background as usual. And then this like fog like moving through it. And I think that what ends up happening is that with when we think that, especially if we're like, oh, we have to we have to dip our toes into every stream that we walk past, like that's not true. The thing too that I notice, even for myself as a very creative person, that I fall into is like to not like guiding. Like you said, creativity needs to be guided. I feel like creativity or creative energy is of the very much like fire. It's like fire can be a great thing if you know how to build, a structure to keep it going, and if you know how to feed it properly, like what type of wood you need to put on there to keep it burning. and then when to let it die down. And something that might be really helpful for you, because I also feel too like once your gift starts feeling like a burden, you need to like pause again. Like you need to pause. Like you need to take a moment and say, am I doing all these things because there's something else going on and I'm trying to keep myself moving so that I don't have to examine this thing that's making me feel like I'm losing my mind? Or is it that I really just want to do all the things all the time? And so yeah, somebody it's hard for earth signs not to control. Yeah, and I'm an earth sign, and so being a creative person and an earth sign is intense because part of me is always like, let's go out and let's knit 12 sweaters, and I'm like, no, we can't. I'm not doing like that. You have to go buy yarn. Like that's a lot. Like yarn is expensive. And so there's this understanding back to the card. There's this understanding that in your truest form, like in your spirit form that's outside of and not separate from but outside of this body, like it's like just make a decision based on what's really going on. Like are you trying to compare apples and oranges, or are you saying like I can't stop being creative because this is really who I am? In that case, then keep going. Like Jen said, just keep creating, keep doing stuff. And if it's that if this is coming from a place of trying to avoid something, then you need to pause and like reassess.
Totally. And it's interesting because the card I got was I give blessings. So the balance, like you look at like the butterflies in the middle. Like this card is actually based off of a scene from the Never-Ending Story where it's the end of the film and all of Fantasia is gone because the nothing has taken over. So for those of you who haven't seen it, basically if you look at Fantasia as a metaphor for the imagination and the nothing as despair, nihilism, negativity, when the nothing overcomes the imagination, it destroys potential. And at the
Mm.
end of this film, right, the scene that it's based off of, all that's left of Fantasia is a little grain of sand. And the childlike empress gives this grain of sand to the protagonist and says, okay, well, now you have to create. So use your imagination to create the new realms of fantasy and life and love and art, creativity, your life. It doesn't have to come through in like just one way. Like think about like if today I'm not getting a poem, or today I'm not getting this, let me just go for a walk and see what kind of things come through. The imagination is our greatest vehicle for navigating this world and turning it into the journey, right? Like finding the journey from it. Like the mundane even becomes extraordinary through our imagination. So remember to take that as a blessing, because as you do that, you give that, you are that, and things flow in a better way. So,
Uh,
yeah. You're all awesome. So, this has been great. This hour has flown by. Guy Venus
Absolutely.
Adams is like honestly one of my favorite people I've ever had the pleasure of
Oh,
connecting to. That's the beauty of social media sometimes, is as annoying and triggering as it can be. Sometimes you meet like these amazing human beings that you feel like is a friend for the rest of your life. So thank you, Instagram.
yeah. Thank you. Ma'am.
So Gaia, please plug all of your things. Let everybody know where they can find you. And yeah.
So you can find me at Giya Venus Adams on here, or Venus Adams dot if I could talk. GiaVenusAdams.com is my website. And if you want to, I recently just started a Patreon so that I can share all these beautiful little extra things with people who really want it. So yeah, those are all, and all those links for everything is on my Instagram. I have a link tree, and so there, everything's right
Fantastic.
there.
So yeah, for those who are tuning in live, this is going to live on Instagram TV. For those who are tuning in after the fact, you can follow Gaia because I'm going to have her tagged in this post, and I encourage you to do so. The Miss Honey of Hogwarts is fucking
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh wait, I have a question before we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so because I put on these glasses and I felt like Morpheus really from the Matrix, and so
Yeah.
I wanted to know like what kind of oracle are you? Are you like the oracle that bakes cookies, or the oracle that's like kung fu fighting? Like everybody's kung fu fighting, and it's because the oracle is kung fu fighting.
Um, that's a great question. I think I'm more of the oracle that's eating cookies. I'm not baking them. I'm not playing kung fu. I'm eating cookies, and I'm saying,
Honestly, cookies over kung fu. Like I'll wear the outfit, like I'll wear my kung fu fighting outfit and eat cookies.
yeah,
But I won't get out there because
no.
these glasses are my favorite.
I love them. Yeah, and I wish I could do kung fu. Unfortunately, I have like a whole blend of cultures in my DNA, Levantine, Italian, like all these things, but I'm very white and I have no like coordination. I can't dance, I can't kung fu. I'll eat cookies and tell you some wisdom.
Perfect. That's perfect. Thank you for being the cookie eating oracle. Somebody's got to eat the cookies.
Yeah, and that's me. I love you. Have a great
I
night.
love you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.